guys, welcome back to Carried Away Travels. Today we're going to be talking about an amazing immersive art experience in Denver, Colorado called Meow Wolf Convergence Station. Now, I hadn't actually heard of Meow Wolf before we started planning this trip to Denver, but apparently they have 4 really interesting locations across the Southwest US. Each of these locations has a different theme, and Meow Wolf Convergence Station in Denver is actually the biggest of all of them with 4 stories to explore. So you may know that I love immersive art experiences. We featured the Van Gogh exhibit on here, as well as our tech house in DC, but Meow Wolf was nothing like I've ever been to before. The level of immersion into this new world was absolutely incredible. It quite literally transported me to 4 different alien worlds, and I had no idea what time of day it was, where I was at any given point. It was absolutely like Alice down the rabbit hole Wonderland type of thing going on here. The theme at this particular location is that 4 alien worlds have collided into this one station, and you can go in and explore them. Each floor has a different theme based off of that alien world, and they're so completely different. Like, it could have been very easy to just have similar aspects across each one, but every single floor is distinctly unique. Some are a little easier to navigate than others, but the level of detail in every single part of this was just insane. I don't know how to describe it, so I am going to rely on my videos to give you an accurate idea of what in the world is going on here, because I have never seen anything like it. Now, when you first walk into Convergence Station, you'll enter this very futuristic lobby, and if you know what you're doing, you can go ahead and go right to the departures, but there is a person at the desk if you want to get a little more information or buy a Q pass. Now, I had absolutely no idea what the Q pass was, but for your information, there is a storyline behind the Convergence Station, and basically some event has caused these 4 worlds to collide, and the Q Pass allows you to go around collecting memories of the citizens from before the convergence happened, and they're kind of treated like a type of currency. So you can go around trying to collect as many of these memories as possible and build up your database. And there are 4 particular citizens who may have had something to do with causing the convergence. And if you really want to put in the time, you can try to find all of their memories and put the story together about how all of this came to be. If that sounds like too much work, you don't have to buy the Q Pass to enjoy it. We did a little bit of both. As we saw the Q stations, we would go ahead and tap our card, but there was so much going on. You do not need to know the story just to get completely lost in the 4 different worlds here. So we asked right off the bat what would be the best way to explore the 4 different levels, and the advice we were given from the staff was just to wander. All 4 of the levels seamlessly blend with each other in different areas. So you may be walking through an alien city, and then all of a sudden it's open up 2 to 3 floors, and there's just a completely new world in front of you, and you just walk down the stairs and you're in it. One time we thought we were going down an alley, and we ended up in a different subterranean world. So it does all connect. So if you do wander, you'll eventually go back up and down stairs and find yourself in different areas of a level. The only thing I didn't love about that, because it did add to the immersive experience, it was like you were lost, and it just gave you the freedom to explore. But the only thing I didn't like is occasionally the path would maybe split into 3 directions, and we'd say, oh, we'll come back and look at the right path later, and then we couldn't find the right hand path, or maybe we stumbled across it later, but sometimes we didn't. So I feel like maybe we missed a couple things, but that's all the more reason to go back and enjoy it again a second or third time. We started our adventure on the 4th floor, which is called C Street. And basically this level is an alien city with a lot of different shops, a theater, some different vehicles in the streets. There's very interesting clothing hanging up on the lines with way too many arms or legs than it should have. And this was just a very bright and fun space to come into at the beginning. It had a lot of fun little extras that you could duck into, like an arcade, a cyber cafe, an art gallery, a laundromat, and even a little theater. I'm going to backtrack here for just a second and mention that while a lot of the stuff in Convergence Station is beautiful or just really cool, there is really kind of creepy and grotesque stuff as well. It is an alien world, so I'm pretty sure some of the paintings had like intestines on them. There was at one point like a horse that just had like entrails for a head. There was a laundry thing that had teeth rolling around inside. So there's little things, like nothing that hopefully would really mess you up, but just a cautionary tale. Not all of this is just fun and rainbows. It is an alien world from the interpretation of 350 international artists. So there's that note. And we're back. All right, so the next level that we went through was called Ossuary. And this was, out of all of the 4 areas, probably the most labyrinth-like of all of them. There was a lot of different paths that you could explore. There were lots of little hidden rooms and hallways you could go down, but it was also one of the most beautiful of all of them. So the story here is that there's this great alien civilization, and they had this library with all this knowledge, as well as a mining town, and a bunch of different parts of this world got sucked into the Convergence. So it's a very widespread area, and we actually stumbled upon it because we went down a little stairway from C Street and suddenly ended up in this terrifying Chuck E. Cheese land. Like, seriously, what is this? This is like my nightmare. Alright, I don't know what kind of play zone they have in the alien world, but we wandered through this and then we found a door that led out into the rest of Ossuary. And it had several really unique areas. One area was like the grungy downtown. There was graffiti all over. There was a room that had a Rock'em Sock'em Robot style game, but it was with like rats, these giant rats just clubbing each other. And then there were a couple larger areas. One of them was like a mining zone, and so they had these rock columns with these glowing purple stones in them. That was really cool to wander through. And then there was this more elegant side of things where they had these really nice paintings, these fancy chairs. It kind of reminded me of like a French style, like nice blue wallpaper, but you could tell it had kind of been messed up in the Convergence. These really gorgeous columns and the bright white lights and white stone, and it was more of an elevated feel. So this one also had a few different things you could kind of mess with, like that rat game, but a lot of this was more just wandering through, and that was really fun. The next world we explored was called Emia, and this is an ice world, and just a small chunk of this world was taken in the Convergence, but it's a multi-story room, and it's got this beautiful cathedral in the middle of it. It's very colorful. It really reminds me of those like clear magnetic tiles kids play with, where you can build all these colorful like little towers. That's what it reminded me of, except it's like 3 stories tall, and it's gorgeous. So you come in on ground level, and the main attraction is the cathedral right there. You can go inside, there's an organ, and if you figure out the secret code, it'll play a special tune. And what I really liked was there were 2 robots outside the cathedral, like Transformer style robots, and you can actually go sit in them. and you can actually interact with their controls and cause things to happen. So there's a little camera in each one, and you can actually see whoever's sitting in the other robot. But if you mess with the controls just right, you can actually align the planets on the ceiling and cause like a wormhole to open up, which is really cool. The ceiling is also just generally very cool. It's got this gorgeous sky with stars and constellations projected onto it, so you really feel like you're under the stars and not in this warehouse in the middle of Denver. And the final world in Convergence Station is called Numina. Now, this is kind of an Alice in Wonderland type forest where there's glowing flowers and mushrooms, and the creatures are all just a little bit weird. But it's very, very beautiful. And this was one of my favorite areas just because it was so Wonderlandish, and you really just wandered around trying to take everything in. There were lots of little hidden alcoves, and sometimes you even had to like crawl through a little tunnel, and there'd be a cool room with like a sitting space that you could just enjoy. Like, there was so much to discover, and it was so well done. Now, this is one of the bigger spaces, and it actually extends a couple stories and connects to the different levels. So it's kind of made to be a central point where if you do find yourself lost in, say, ossuary, you may stumble back into Numina and be like, oh, okay, I'm over here. I can head back to this area, or maybe I wanted to get to a different floor. I'll just take the central staircase. And it really added such a fun element because the ground floor is beautiful, but you could go up to like a second and third story and walk on these gorgeous bridges and just be closer to the tops of the trees and see more of these details. And it was such a fun little excursion, and I was glad that we got to pop into it a few different times. And the last thing you should check out before you go is the merch on the bottom level. They have a very large store with lots of items themed after the different characters you encounter in the different worlds. So if there was a particular character that you really liked, or maybe a world, you can get some gear themed after that. They have hats and clothes and toys and all sorts of stuff. So be sure to check that out. Thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. This is such a cool place. I highly recommend you check it out the next time you're in Denver. Just some practical information. It is $40 per person and up to get tickets depending on the day. If you are a Colorado resident, tickets start at $30. It takes about 2 hours to really enjoy this, but you could really stay in here more like 4 and probably still not see everything that it has to offer. And last but not least, there is parking on site, but it is very limited and costs $15. So if you do want to visit, I'd recommend grabbing an Uber or a Lyft and just having them drop you off instead. It may end up being just as cheap. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up before you go. And if you're not subscribed to the channel, be sure to do that before you leave to get more videos like this from me in the future. Thanks so much and happy travels.